What's up, party people? This is Tarkus Jude Mossberg here from Facebook, Jude's Junk Facebook comic book shop, which is back up, by the way, and a YouTube channel and website, Jude's Junk, for all my comic books, about 2,000 graded 9.8 books, a lot of them signed. So this is about pricing. This is about what people are going to see in the aftermarket for obviously slabs on the aftermarket. We're kind of at a bottom. In terms of, we kind of were at a bottom last year, but there's a lot of people talking about, Swaggle House just talked about, he went to a convention and everybody was buying. I'm watching these auction houses daily, and as a broker, I've looked for good deals for clients for a couple of years now. And for the most part, the bigger books are selling for more than either last sale or 90-day average on auctions, by and far. Every now and then you'll find an exception, but that has more to do with the auction house, known, unknown. Maybe it's one of the last books at 11 o'clock at night on the West Coast, and on the East Coast it's already 1 in the morning, people are asleep. Or it might be during the middle of the day with some of these auction houses where people are at work. So that might have more to do with poor marketing, the auction house, the eyes on it, the timing. Maybe a whole bunch of auctions back to back, so people run out of money, so everything at the end doesn't sell for fair market value. But by and large, the hot items, everybody want the ones at the beginning of the auction, which is Amazing Spider-Man. They're selling for more than last sale, and a lot of these are not getting reported too. I've been telling you for years that a lot of comic books do not get reported on auction houses that were really, really low prices. And I was taking advantage of that over the last 2 years. I've just been buying up as much as I can afford, and got a lot of great deals, and now it seems to have dried up. Great deals, I don't want to buy something for 80% fair market value and then spend a year trying to market it and sell it just to sell it for fair market value. So that 20% is not a big enough profit margin for me to spend all that time and energy, depending on how big of a book it is. Maybe a $20,000 book, but still, that doesn't seem like a $2,000 profit off of an $18,000 investment over 1 year. It's not really a good use of that money. You could find a better way to spend that money. So you got that going on in the auction houses, but I still see people online saying that the market's still going down. Well, I don't know what they're seeing. I think what they're doing is they're seeing some recorded last sales that are on some obscure website. There's 30 auction houses out there, and I watch all of them. And it takes a lot of time, and I know there's a lot of people that cannot do that. So what I'm sharing with you is most of these auction houses do not report these sales. They do not pay for the marketing to have their sales published on GPA, so they don't get published on GPA, and they don't get published in advance that they're on sale on that auction house. So that's why they're not reported. It's not because they're doing something wrong. They just are not going to pay the fee to GPA or the other houses to record it. So, but what you're not seeing behind the scenes is a lot of these auction houses prices are going up. Consistently, I'm seeing them go up over fair market value, going up over last sale. And it's a sign that things have changed. I just had a friend of mine contact me from Arizona. He wants to pull his money out of something, and he wants to invest $10,000 in some comic books. I think that's going on more and more. I think people are saying, oh, this is a bottom. Other markets might be changing, whether it's real estate or gold or silver, and maybe they're selling because those are all-time highs, and they want to put them in some big comic books. So you have people doing that. Maybe at not necessarily comic book lovers, but people that just are doing it for investment purposes, and it's driving prices up. Supply and demand. The demand is going up, and the supply is not necessarily going up for some of these bigger keys. So you see that going up, and then you see some people online are still thinking, oh, things are selling for too cheap. This is a weird time for sellers. If you're desperate, you're going to put it up at the cheapest prices just to move it. And there are people like that. They're desperate. I see people online saying they got a car accident or their mother's sick, and they sound desperate, and then you go look at their prices, and their prices are higher than 9-day average and fair market value or last sale, and you're like, you don't sound too desperate, or you just don't have fair GPA, or you're just not willing to take advice that you're way above those benchmarks, because there's no real such thing as fair market value. What is that? 12-month average, 90-day average, last sale, a weighted average, a weighted 60-day average. You know, there's a lot of different ways to come up with, quote, fair market value. So you can't just believe whatever you read on Cover Price. On Go Collect, one of those websites combines CBCS data and GPA data. It combines it to come up with their averages. And Cover Price, I believe. Go Collect doesn't, because they have it split out. And then Cover Price has it in GPA. So if you're looking for funny reasons why GPA doesn't, CLZ doesn't report grades accurately, one of them is because they combine CBCS and CGC data. And we know now that CBCS is not selling anywhere near, not even 10-20% discount. In many cases, it's 50% discount. But I have talked about that at length on other videos. So you have a seller like me who's not desperate. So the desperate people are still going to say, I gotta just put it up on auction and get rid of it. And if they're big blue chip keys, they're gonna get more than maybe the 90-day average in many of these auction houses. Now, it might sell for more, but with all the different fees, unless you use places like, what's the guy in San Diego? I'm forgetting his name, maybe on purpose. He only charges $500 to sell, but you know, none of the elite comics on Instagram are getting reported, and you know, that's a quick and easy way to sell your book cheap up there. So, but a lot of stores, a lot of dealers, I don't know what you call them, institutional, commercial businesses, even though a lot of dealers are just like me. They're just like one guy at home selling books, you know. So we see the market changing and we're adjusting our prices accordingly. And you see this all over eBay, the prices are high. That's because everybody who needed to sell has sold, and everybody who didn't need to sell is holding. A lot of us are holding. We don't want to price at the lowest price because we have a lot of confidence in the market. So this is just like an insight into sellers. We don't care if it's above a 90-day average. We don't care if it's above last sale. We're not going to try to compete with an auction house, because if I wanted to do auction house prices, I would sell it at an auction house, and then or Instagram elite comics like that. But we're holding because we think a lot of these books are starting to go back up. If you see the GPA curves, another great reason for GPA, it has all the good graphs. But it was going down, 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 and then last year, and then it's starting to go like this for a lot of big books, and that's going to trickle down to smaller books. So a lot of us dealers are not wanting to sell at the lowest part of the market, which is what we're seeing. That would be foolish. To buy high and sell low. That's a good way to go out of business. So the people that are desperate sold. The people that are not desperate are holding or pricing their books a little bit higher. A lot of different ways to price a book, but I think buyers are going to go through an experience where, why can't I find a book that is the last sale on GPA? Now, that last sale on GPA might have been a reported auction house that was just, I wouldn't say real low, but maybe 10% under. So a $500 book, maybe the fair market value is $550, and they're like, I want it for $5,000. I mean, 500, and then someone just wanted a ASM 129 9.6 from me, and they wanted to pay $5,000, and the fair market value, or the 90-day with tax and shipping, and you got to understand, that's what buyers care about. Sellers, you can't just, if I'm a buyer of big books, I only care about the total cost. That means shipping, tax, everything. So if I'm buying on a lot of these auction houses that are reporting, like Heritage, paying $5,000 for a book, I'm paying minimum 6%. So what's 6 times 6% of 1,000 is $60, times 10 is 600. So I'm paying $300 in taxes for a $5,000 book, and then shipping. You know, in some places, some of these auction houses, you have to use a third-party shipper who has to come to the auction house, pick it up, pack it up, and they'll charge you a ton, and then they charge you a ton to insure it. So I had $20,000 book that shipping was like $300-400 at one point. So I digress. If it's a $5,000 last sale reported for a 9.6 ASM 129, that person, because it was a reported sale, you're talking about Heritage, you're talking about eBay, you're talking about the bigger auction houses that charge everybody tax. Most of the auction houses don't. The bigger ones charge everybody tax when they don't need to legally. They're just stealing from you. In my state, there's all kinds of rules where they don't need to charge you tax. If they do not enough sales in that state, they don't have to charge tax. So when you're talking about bigger books, tax ups the price. So a lot of us sellers are looking at fair market value, and buyers are like, I want the last sale, which is $5,000 for that 9.6. Yeah, but 90-day average is 5,500, and you add tax and shipping, you're looking at 5,900 is what the average sales price is for every ASM 129 9.6. And you have someone that wants to pay 5,000. Hey, that's great. I totally say go for it. The problem is you can find deals. It takes a lot of work. A lot of people don't have that time to do all that work. A lot of people enjoy that hunt. It's like diamond hunting. But what I'm saying is, don't expect that. You're going to start to see, if you haven't already seen it already, prices are going up. And so sellers are not wanting to sell at rock bottom prices. So you're going to see higher prices on books. So in this period, I think if we're really at a bottom and things are starting to go up, if you can get it for less than 90 day, that is a good price, because I think prices are going to be going up. And I've already wrote about it. I think how they're going to go up quickly. I have seen some prices go up quickly. I mean, big, like 100%. People were okay paying $200 for a book. Just because it went down to 100, they were okay paying $200 for that book. So if it's the only one out there and they want it, they'll just pay the $200. People were paying stupid prices because they could, because they were willing to get that book, to get that feeling, whatever it is. So the fact that we already know people were willing to pay those big prices, just because prices are going up, they're still going to buy it. And as you see, the last sales are going up and up and up, and you're seeing that across the board. And many of the big stuff, you know, the 2-year average, the 1-year average, the 90-day, and the last sale, you're seeing it. I have to do it backwards for that. You're starting to see the trend is going up. And so you have to think the psychology of what is the seller going to do. They may or may not price it below fair market value. If they need to move it quickly, they will. Instagram Elite Comics, their world is to move it quick, so they price it low. And so you can get on there and hopefully find the book. But if you're looking for a specific book, that's when it becomes a problem. If you're just willing to buy deals whenever they come up, that's typically what I do. I don't really hunt out a specific book. I look for deals on the thousands of books I might enjoy, and I only buy the books where I can find a deal. I just found Crow number 4, 9.8 at about 50% fair market value. Great price. No idea why it went sale, but I do that. I scour these auctions, and you know, I might bid on 50 items at an auction, and I'll hit 1 or 2 that I just got lucky with a great price. So I shop for deals. I don't shop for books. Some people hunt books. They're like, this is the books I like, and that's great. And so if you're going to do that though, and you're wanting the books that everybody else wants, you're going to see those prices going up. And if you buy it if you can find it at 90-day, or depends on if last sale is above 90-day or below 90-day, but if you can find it at 90-day, that might actually be a good deal, is what I'm trying to say. Prices are going up. Anyways, happy hunting, consider it, and have fun, guys. Bye-bye.